Your scars are chapters, not conclusions, and they prove that healing writes the final line. Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me here today. If you're new, I'm Amanda. I promise I'm not always a one-eared kitty, but I lost one of my ears. I can't find it. But if you are new, welcome to the channel where we are all about shattering the mental health stigma. If you haven't already, please make sure you make sweet love to that subscribe button, give the bell a few kisses so you're not missing any of this content designed to help you with your mental health or help someone else. Today, I'm going back to, I guess, an oldie but goodie from what I hear, Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. I have done one other Led Zeppelin reaction here on the channel, but I've never heard this song, even though it looks to be pretty popular since it has over 150 million views on the official audio. Before we dive into the reaction, as we head into fall, the days start getting shorter and a lot of us feel a shift. For some of us, it's really cozy, and for some of us, it's more heavy. If you're noticing changes in your mood and you need a little extra support through this time, the sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp, has you covered. BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, and they make it easy to connect with a licensed therapist from the comfort of your own home so you can navigate this season or any season of change with a little more ease. Get connected with a licensed professional from BetterHelp by clicking the link in the description or going to betterhelp.com/Amanda Webster. That's betterhelp.com/Amanda Webster for 10% off your first month of therapy. Thanks so much, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this video. Now let's dive into the reaction, Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin.
There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. When she gets there, she knows if the stores are all closed, with a word she can get what she came for. She's buying a stairway to heaven. There's a sign on the wall, but she wants to be sure, 'cause you know sometimes words have two meanings. In a tree by the brook, there's a songbird who sings. Sometimes all of our thoughts are misgiven.
Truth.
It makes me wonder. Makes me wonder.
I am getting Celtic vibes from this, both from the symbology. I know Trinity is there, but I'm not sure of the other two. If you guys want to let me know what that means. But I'm getting Celtic vibes. Sounds like some kind of flute. I am not a musical expert, but sounds like some kind of flute. But diving into the lyrics, I think that he's convinced that material wealth or status can purchase, transcendence can purchase redemption of some sort. And I think that the image is of a sign whose meaning isn't certain, really suggests the discomfort of ambiguity. And I think people who need absolute certainty, who need to know, you know, the next steps, who need to know how everything's working and how everything's going to play out. I think that those people often struggle the most when faced with life's gray areas, which life is full of, right? I think that that can lead to a lot of rumination, which can lead to a lot of anxiety. But I think that believing that the right phrase or the right action guarantees a desired outcome reflects this illusion of control that a lot of us have. Well, that most people have. It's a human thing. We have to feel like we're in control. And I think that this can mask anxiety, it can mask a fear of helplessness. And I think it ties back into the bargaining of the Kubler-Ross stages of grief, where you're trying to reason. It's a defense. If we can say just the right thing, then maybe we can keep the chaos at bay. Maybe we can control the outcome in some way. And I think that this is a person trying to buy or think their way into peace instead of cultivating it internally. And I expected a completely different message from this, so I will get into that later, just in case it does shift to that. Well, you know what, actually, I'm just gonna get into it now. I kind of thought that this would be more of someone who's grieving and missing their loved one, and they're trying to create that bridge between earth and heaven so that they can feel connected to their lost loved one. But that's not the vibe I'm getting here. So either I'm really misinterpreting the lyrics, or I haven't gotten far enough, or they're completely different than what I expected.
There's a feeling I get when I look to the west, and my spirit is crying for leaving. In my thoughts I have seen rings of smoke through the trees, and the voices of those who stand looking. Ooh, it makes me wonder. Soon, if we all call the tune, then the piper will lead us to reason, and a new day will dawn for those who stand long, and the forests will echo with laughter.
Wait. Is this the song that people thought had satanic messages in it back in the day? Because I think that that one lyric was what I remembered people talking about, the bustling. I thought that was a Zeppelin song. So is this the song that people thought had satanic messages in it back in the day and were calling for it to be banned? Am I thinking of the right song? I'm pretty sure this is it, and I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that that is not truth. I never really looked into that, but I remember I remember it being Led Zeppelin, and I remember that bustling line. Anyway, if I'm wrong, again, I go into this stuff blind. So, longing for the West. So there's two ways that I hear this. When I think of the West, I think of the settlers in the days past of traveling in search of a new life, right? I think of that. Or there's the fact that the sun sets in the west, so it could represent the end of a day, a new chapter, a transformation, or beginning of a transformation. So there's a lot of ways to interpret that. I think the smoke through the trees, I think that evokes glimpses of possibility that aren't clear yet. The idea that everyone aligns, a guide, if everyone aligns, a guide will lead them to reason, or I think that hints at the collective healing of society, which I think is a really important message right now, that I believe in the collective society. I believe that what we do affects other people, the choices we make as individuals, the attitudes we have, I think that affects other people. And I think that this is hinting at that collective healing and that social resonance. And it's really talking about the importance of community action, how shared purpose and mutual support can bring clarity and renewal. And that's especially important in a time of a lot of upheaval. And let's be real, we're always in a time of a lot of upheaval. I don't know when you're watching this video, it could be when I publish it, it could be years later, but we're always in a time of political upheaval, social upheaval, and it's on us as individuals to live in a way that encourages community, that encourages conversation. So I think that that's a really important message there. I think the sudden disturbance in the otherwise quiet space, framed as in this one a natural spring cleaning, I think that reflects the psyche's need for periodic upheaval. It's kind of like when they do controlled burns in the forest just to get rid of the debris and stuff so it doesn't cause forest fires, and it might seem very counterintuitive, but that's kind of the image I get, because growth often requires that we destroy things, that we declutter, that we get rid of things that aren't serving us anymore. Old habits surface, get disrupted, and make way for healthier patterns, but we have to clear that out first. I think that explicitly choosing a path and knowing it's never too late to change, that so far is my main takeaway here, because it echoes the concept of agency. It echoes the idea, the fact that we retain the capacity to pivot at any point, even after years on one trajectory. And I hear so often from community members, people saying, hey, I can't change. I've been this way for decades. I've had this certain fixed point for so long that I can't possibly change it. And this is a reminder that, yeah, you can. It doesn't matter how long you've been on the trajectory. It's never too late to correct a mistake, as Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus would say.
You don't know the piper's calling you to join him. Dear lady, can you hear the wind blow? And did you know your stairway lies on the whispering wind? to heaven.
Okay. So to all the people in the comments that have gotten on to me over the years about watching the video and giving my analysis of music videos as well and telling me that I just should have listened to the song, I get it now. I get it because I do think that there's value in the imagery and stuff. I think that can bring a lot to the message, but in this case, I really just found myself being carried along on that wave that I think a music video would have taken away from. So I don't think there was an official music video. I couldn't find one. This is what I found. But it just felt like I was being carried along on this wave. And I really understand now why sometimes it's valuable to just listen to the music because I could close my eyes and focus on that. And it felt like there's this ascension, there's this escalation, and then it just peaks, and it just trails off. It was really reflective of the title, the way it did that, so I really liked that. I think A Staircase of Air really underscores the impermanence of external achievements, which to me is the takeaway of this song. So it wasn't what I expected at all. When I heard Stairway to Heaven, like I said, I thought it was going to be the grief process and someone wanting to build a stairway to heaven, to be with their loved one again, but that's not the message I got at all. Again, these are just my interpretations. I don't go into songs with knowledge 99.9% of the time, this one included. So yeah, my interpretation is more where they're suggesting that fulfillment built solely on status or possessions is as fragile as the breeze. And I think that that's really true, that if we're trying to build our identity on these external things instead of trying to find the intrinsic motivation, then that is really dangerous because it's that hedonic treadmill and the goalposts are always going to be moving. Shadows taller than the soul. Loved that. We're getting into the shadow self. You guys know I love talking about my shadow self, about how I've integrated that, because most people will try to suppress their shadow self because it scares them, because it's uncomfortable, because it reflects a part of us that we try to deny, that we don't like exists, because it's very frowned upon in society for us to have those dark aspects, but we all have those dark aspects. And when the shadow looms larger than our conscious identity, which is what I think was being suggested here, those unacknowledged fears and desires can dominate our choices. It permeates into every part of our life. It dominates all of our choices. And I think healing means learning to work with your shadow self, not deny it. For me, that looked like getting a degree in forensic psychology. For me, that reflects in the interests I have, like the different movies I watch, things like that, the different content creators that I engage with. I like some darker stuff because that helps me integrate my shadow in a healthy way, and it helps me process a lot of my emotions that I couldn't process otherwise. So that's just a way that I have found to work with my shadow's strengths instead of trying to deny it, because there is strength in that darkness. There are strengths that only our shadow has, I believe. But I think the closing part here, I think really points to grounded authenticity, cultivating a stable sense of self that isn't swept away by every external pressure or trend or threat. And again, I think that this could not be more timely, that it's very easy for people to look at things externally. And you know what? This guy's been falling for a really long time. This is not new. When we're having all this political upheaval, the social upheaval, yes, it's not great. I'm gonna leave it at that. It's not great, but it hasn't been great. Every generation has had its own challenges. Every politician's come with their own challenges, and we can't get constantly swept away by this external pressure. We have to try to find the community. We have to try to find the good. I truly believe that with all my heart. And even people like Anne Frank, there was an author, I read his book a while back, Eddie Jaku, who was also in the Holocaust, and he wrote a book called The Happiest Man on Earth and talked about how he took his experience and being in the Holocaust and being in the concentration camp and use that to be this happy person. So even in all this political and social upheaval, even in a hell that most of us will never understand, he was still able to find happiness. He was still able to find community. There have been people that were able to make peace with their captors in that situation. I remember seeing an article of a woman who hugged one of the Nazis, I believe, who had held her captive, who had overseen her concentration camp, or her area of the concentration camp. So he personally affronted her, but she was able to forgive him, and they were able to embrace and hug and find that beauty. And I think that that's something that we all need to work more on right now. I know that a lot of people got upset with my previous video where I was talking about Charlie Kirk, and that's fine, but I will never ever again allow myself to get swept up in all of that. I was there in my 20s, in the sense of I was so unbelievably political all the time, and it was always the sky is falling mentality. And this was a while ago, you know, and I don't think that that's going to change. There's always going to be things to be afraid of. There's always going to be things to be concerned about, and it's okay to have a healthy level of fear and anxiety. It's okay to be concerned. We should be taking action. We should be building our community. We should be listening to each other. We should be learning from the people that we disagree with, not just demonizing them. I think another really great example of that is, I cannot remember his name, but the man who did a TED Talk on why he, as a black man, attended KKK meetings. I think that that's fantastic, that he could hear the other side and try to understand, instead of just immediately, you know, shutting down everything. Because the more you understand your opposition, the more power you have to change the overall narrative. And the more compassionate you try to be with somebody that you disagree with, the more power you have to modify the narrative and have it more in your favor. That's just my 2 cents. But I think that this is timeless. This is timeless because, like I said, that's always going to be the case. We're always going to be in some kind of upheaval, and it's important that we are finding community. Like here on this channel, I always encourage people to share their stories, good, bad, and crazy. That is how we shatter the mental health stigma, is by talking about it. And we're all on different paths, and that's okay. I want to hold space for everyone's different paths because I want to learn, I want to grow. Give this video a thumbs up, share it. You never know who might need to see it. Thanks for taking me back. I'm sure that a lot of you grew up with this, so I feel like in a way now I get to go back to that time with you. I get to grow up with you in some little way. I get to have another part to my coming of age story, even though I'm older now, and I think that that's really awesome. That we can experience that we can move through time in this way with the music. So thank you so much for that experience. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you guys again real soon. Mwah.